Well, yesterday the Daily Buzz confirmed that Evelyn Lozada, wife of athlete and reality star Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ocho Cinco, filed for divorce after only 6 weeks of marriage. That's much shorter than Kim Kardashian, claiming the former NFL star headbutted her during a heated argument. What caused this ugly confrontation, and does our legal system protect the victim? Joining us in studio to discuss this is attorney Lisa Bloom, and Skyping in from Newport, California, psychologist Dr. Elizabeth Waterman. Thank you both for joining us today. Lisa, I wanted to begin with you. You wrote the book Swagger, 10 Urgent Rules for Raising Boys in an Era of Failing Schools, Mass Joblessness and a Thug Culture. Chad has a history of domestic violence or violence against people. Were you surprised that an allegation of domestic violence would be levelled against him?
Well, we shouldn't be surprised, really, because this is exactly the kind of swagger mentality that I talk about in my book, an attitude of arrogance, an attitude that I'm above the law, I'm better than everyone else, and I don't have to rein in my angry impulses. Unfortunately, he seems to have learned nothing from the first incident, and now we see this ugly issue rearing its head again.
Sure. Dr. Waterman, let's bring you in. You specialise in psychology. What are some of the signs for people to be aware of that their partners may indeed be violent?
Well, as Lisa said, with this case, a history of past violence is a huge factor in predicting future violence. Someone who's controlling, possessive of their partner, someone who has verbal outbursts or is physically aggressive to other things like punching a wall, and someone who also humiliates, lies, or criticizes their partner. Those are all signs that they may be physically abusive in the future.
What about being high profile? So many couples in the spotlight are involved in these types of domestic situations. Dr. Waterman, is that a contributing factor?
Being in the spotlight does put added stress on couples, I think. And they do need the skills to deal with that stress. Unfortunately, some of them have not learned those skills, and so they act out in ways that are aggressive or very damaging to relationships. I think it is difficult, more difficult for them to keep it out of the spotlight because they're already in it.
Lisa, in the case of Chad Johnson, he's been axed by the Miami Dolphins. VH1 has cancelled his show. It seems to me like organisations outside the judicial system take a more hardline approach on these particular instances. Would that be a fair assessment?
As well they should. I mean, I think we're all evolving in terms of our consciousness and awareness about domestic violence and how bad it is. And remember, the show was canceled. It was her show too. And she's allegedly the victim here, and so she's suffering from that as well. But I think that is the right call. You can't have a reality show about this marriage that's got domestic violence in it now and probably divorce.
Does the legal system do enough to help victims?
Absolutely not. You know, I predict if he is convicted, he'll get a slap on the wrist, community service, just like we've seen with Mel Gibson and many other celebrity batterers.
And by the way, Chad Johnson tweeted this yesterday after news broke about his marriage. He said, "I haven't had to tread water in a long time. Special thank you to my fans, family and friends for keeping me afloat." Lisa, you're shaking your head.
I mean, he's the victim, and this is what we see with batterers, which is what he's accused of here. He's the victim. Poor me. Thank you, everybody, for taking care of me. How about a straightforward acknowledgement and an apology? Is that too much to ask?
That's what he should have done.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, he should have done. Dr. Waterman, what do you think about that? Is it a case of someone not taking responsibility for his actions?
It definitely could be. Unfortunately, I don't know him, and he's not my client, but I definitely think that he could be trying to minimize, which is something that batterers typically do. They could be avoiding the situation.
Right. Okay, well, now on to another Hollywood star accused of violence towards his partner, Mel Gibson. In case you forgot, take a look at this.
I won't stand for that anymore.
I don't walk around. I don't walk around in tight clothes. I stay for most of the time.
Public, and it's a embarrassment to me. You look like a bitch on heat, and if you get raped by a pack of it'll be your fault. All right?
Listening to that never ceases to amaze. He made an interesting remark to comingsoon.net. He was asked whether or not Hollywood will ever be able to forgive him for his recent past, including those allegations of domestic violence. And this is what Mel said. "It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what needs to be forgiven, and I don't consider that anything does because I didn't hurt anyone."
Wow.
Now, Lisa, you were a member of Oksana Grigorieva's legal team at one point. I covered this story. Mel Gibson admitted in court papers that he slapped her with an open hand.
Yeah.
Does he need to be forgiven.
And he pleaded no contest, which is the legal equivalent of guilty. He is now convicted of domestic violence, and he's on probation. And if I were his probationary judge, I would call him in and say, really? You seem to have learned nothing from your court-ordered counseling, because domestic violence does hurt.
Yeah.
That's why it's against the law. It hurts emotionally and it hurts physically, and it can take many years for a survivor to overcome it. What he did was wrong, and he clearly does not get it at all still.
Dr. Waterman, weigh in.
I totally agree. He's presenting himself as if he has not learned anything. And, you know, it is very unfortunate because he went through treatment and it doesn't seem to have been effective.
I got to say, here's a message from Mel Gibson. Log on to the internet and listen to those tapes. And if you can't think that you need to apologise or do something, you are a delusional man. I got to say.
Hear, hear.
All right,
Absolutely.
Lisa, Dr. Waterman, thank you very much for joining our big story discussion today. And for all the latest on this messy story and the latest on the Chad Johnson divorce case, be sure to head over to the website, CELEBUZZ.com, or you can join the conversation with our Twitter hashtag, #TheDailyBuzz. That's our show for the day. We'll see you right here, same time tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye for now.